Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining this live stream discussion. I'm really excited to have Juno with us to talk a little bit about their growth. I am Cyril Mathew, just FYI. I'm the Chief Operating Officer and President of Zero Hash, and we have the fortune of powering with Juno. We thought we wanted to kind of really unlock that under the hood for Juno to see why they've grown so much. Just for those who don't know who Juno is, their mission is to make financial freedom more accessible by building an easy-to-use, trusted, and compliant gateway to crypto and Web3. Their on or off ramp solution has been designed to effortlessly bridge cash and digital money. And on our side, Zero Hash provides the critical infrastructure to power Juno's off ramp experience. Together, we're looking to build a future for people to onboard and engage with the crypto economy seamlessly and safely. Today, I have the pleasure of sitting down with Varun, who is the co-founder of Juno, to learn a little bit more about their vision and discuss the partnership with Zero Hash. Varun, it's great to have you with us.
Hey, hi Cyril. Great to be here as well.
Thanks for taking the time. Before we dive into all the nuts and bolts of how Juno works, let's take a pause to watch a quick video to give the audience an overview of Juno. That was a great video. Brun, before we get into Juno, I'd love to hear just a little bit about your personal story, how you got into crypto. Can you give the audience a little overview there?
Yeah, definitely. So I've actually been a founder myself for almost like 10 years at this point. So this is actually my third startup. And so prior to starting Juno, so three of us co-founders have actually been on this journey for almost like 6-7 years now. So before this, we started a company called BWise, which is basically a credit analytics platform in India. And that was actually our entry into fintech. And that's how we kind of learned about fintech and credit and credit analytics. So that is a company that we basically exited eventually to one of the largest payment gateways in India. But this obsession with credit was always there, and that's when we ended up building Nuo prior to Juno, which is more of a DeFi lending and borrowing platform. We thought that it's a very interesting world wherein there are differences in interest rates around the world. So US has low interest rates, Indonesia, US, Brazil, India have like high interest rates. So what happens if you have all these users from like different countries together on the same platform? And that's when we ended up building Nuo as sort of a debt marketplace wherein everyone can kind of come together. And that was actually our experience into crypto and building on top of Ethereum like 2018, 2019, when DeFi was not really a big term back then. People were just kind of figuring out what this was. So that's what actually got us excited to kind of build on in crypto, build on DeFi. We realized access to crypto and access to DeFi platforms was extremely broken, and that's how we kind of continued our journey and ended up building Juno.
Awesome. Yeah, I remember I was at Coinbase at the time, and until the DeFi summer in 21 came, no one really knew what the definition of it was. But if I recall, I think you guys were maybe the third largest DeFi app at the time. I forget what year that was. But you told the Zero Hash team, for lack of a better word, you had the aha moment that really this is not going to work at mainstream unless the experience was simplified. Can you share more about that journey and kind of maybe how that led to what you thought about it, Juno?
Yeah, definitely. So even when we were actually building Nuo as a DeFi platform, we were obsessed about the user experience. Just the fact that users have to install, MetaMask and a wallet, and they have to manage private keys, and they might lose access to their private key and lose access to the money. They have to have like a separate token in form of cash to actually pay for transactions. That was not the ideal experience that we felt was good for average consumers. So when we were actually building Nuo, we were the first ones to actually build like meta transactions and like smart contract wallets. So we are kind of obsessed and we were thinking about UX from very early on. But what we realized while we were building Nuo, and Nuo ended up being like one of the top 3 DeFi apps, along with like Maker and Compound at that point, was that access to these DeFi platforms and using these DeFi platforms was fundamentally broken because users had to go from their bank account to a crypto exchange, and then from a crypto exchange to like a Web3 wallet, and then it takes like 3 to 5 days to get there. You have to understand gas and a bunch of other things. So what we realized was the only way this can scale potentially to like millions of customers if we embed crypto and if we embed Web3 into interfaces which are users already trust and are familiar with, which is basically like a brokerage account or a checking account. Checking account, for example, is used by like 80-85% of the population in the US. A lot of people are well banked, and this is an interface which is traditionally very trusted because of FDIC insurance and you access a lot of these financial services through your bank account. So we realized the best way to scale up access to Web3 is to basically create a crypto friendly checking account and embed crypto and Web3 within that checking account itself, so that normal users can eventually access these amazing applications from the comfort and from a trusted platform like a checking account.
Yeah, and that's super interesting. I think we always talk about in the crypto industry, what are the real world use cases. This checking account is the building block of that real world use case. I believe it's Juno ecosystem. How do you think about now tying? You touched on it, but I'd love to double click on tying checking account experiences to Web3 experiences. How do you think about that process?
Yeah, so the benefit of actually having a checking account is basically all the trust and sort of the insurance that it provides. The benefit of crypto is basically the fact that you can access a global internet money essentially, which is permissionless, fully transparent. So that is what kind of makes it super exciting. I think the ability for anyone to go from their checking account directly into sort of crypto assets, like for example USDC or any other stablecoin assets, that convenience and the speed and how effortless it needs to be. Once you're able to solve for that, amazing set of Web3 applications and fintech applications are essentially possible. Today, for example, a checking account is extremely fungible with the familiar apps that you use, right? Which is a Venmo or a Cash App and bunch of other applications like Robinhood. Why can't a checking account similarly also be very fungible and usable when it comes to using Uniswap or a Compound and an OpenSea and amazing a lot of these Web3 applications. So that's what we think needs to happen. Wherein, for example, directly from a checking account, you should be able to go from your cash into USDC. User can choose to lend on Compound or on Aave and earn interest on top of it. Potentially access real world assets and tokenized stocks and other things in the future. And I think things are headed in that direction. So I think that's how we feel eventually Web3 and crypto might scale up from a checking account.
That's great. So with that in mind, you've been in crypto for a while, Varun. I have as well since 16, 17. And those of us in the space know that there's these crypto winters, if you will. And you could argue right now we're in a macro winter as well. There's lots of headwinds facing the industry. That being said, Juno's really seen tremendous growth during this winter. A lot of people say put your heads down and build. You guys are putting your heads down and building, but you're growing. What do you think are the keys to why, despite all these headwinds, Juno's seen such high user growth, and more importantly, once users join Juno, it seems like they're very sticky and they're using all the different features. Can you unpack that a bit?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, fundamentally, when it comes to banking and just crypto in general, the most critical aspect is actually trust and just being around and just being, through the bull market, through the bear market, just existing and serving customers and being at it every single day builds that trust over a period of time. And that trust compounds over a period of time. So that is something that we keep in mind a lot. So that's number one. Second thing that we have learned very early on when we were actually building one of the earliest DeFi protocols was that in order for you to be successful in crypto, your primary customer needs to be a crypto native. You have to serve the needs of a crypto native customer first, and only then, once you find product market fit, eventually as more and more new crypto users come in, they'll start to use your platform organically as well. So no matter if there's a bull market or a bear market, crypto natives continue to use all these amazing platforms. They are the ones who stick around even during a bear market. So Juno is built primarily as a checking account for crypto natives. The fact that more than 80% of our transactions are actually non-cash related transactions. The fact that
Wow.
people are taking their paycheck in Juno, they're using our debit card to spend their paycheck, they're paying their bills and all these amazing things. That makes the platform extremely sticky. And no matter whether it's a bull market or bear market, banking needs and fundamental needs of financial needs actually remain the same. And as long as we continue to serve crypto natives, I think we'll continue to see that growth. Banking also in general is highly transactional, which means you use your platform on a regular basis. So, for example, we see an average user use our platform at least twice a day, whether it's through a debit card or an ACH transfer or a P2P transfer or things like that. So it's a highly sticky and engaging product, and I think that's once users start using it, and the fact that crypto natives want a crypto friendly checking account, they by default start to make this as their primary checking account and start moving their direct deposits and other financial transactions here as well. So that's the primary reason for our growth, the fact that we serve crypto natives and the fact that we've been able to build that trust over a period of time by building through multiple cycles.
I love that. I may just add my own perspective, uninvited, is that just as I've seen the Juno app, it is interesting to see that you focus on the crypto native. But one thing, sometimes the crypto industry runs into a problem of the term they would say is a solution looking for a problem. And I think while you focus on crypto natives, what I love about the Juno app is that you've made it seem like an experience that isn't crypto native. It's You have a checking account, and for those who don't know, they have payroll. They can do peer-to-peer payments. You can do bill payments. It's just like going to your bank account, but the beauty of it is that people who normally wouldn't have access to a bank account or wouldn't have access to these services have it with crypto powering. And so I think that's actually, a very, really powerful aspect of it, that it doesn't seem actually like you're using crypto, but you are and getting all the benefits of it.
No, definitely. I think the convenience that we are able to offer because of the checking account and sort of crypto combined together on the same platform, I think that is massive unlock for a lot of customers. So I think those are the things that we kind of focus on. How do we make it extremely easy to use? How do we make it trusted? And obviously the fact that we have to fundamentally focus on compliance, KYC, AML, and all these important things. I think that also kind of builds trust over a period of time.
Right. That's a good segue. I'd like to rewind to January of this year, where you've been in the crypto space for a while. Unfortunately, there's too many, as they would call it, cataclysmic or catastrophic events that happen, and you guys faced one of these in your journey, where your current provider, the existing provider at the time, Wire, was going through some turmoil, and you guys had to make a quick decision. And you sent a message to customers that they needed to have to self custody or sell off their assets due to some of that turmoil. That meant you had to pivot a significant part of the business, and lots of quick decisions. Can you unpack that time for us? What was going through leadership's mind? How you made these decisions?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, last 12 months, just in crypto in general, have been like extremely difficult in general. And we kind of faced that difficulty early in January when we kind of realized, one of our crypto partners might eventually go down. Although, eventually people thought at that particular time without having, the knowledge that we did, that we kind of, it was a preemptive decision, but we had to kind of make a preemptive decision on the behalf of our customers. We immediately told our customers that, hey, your stable coins like USDC will be auto sold for USD, so that you automatically have these assets safe on the platform. And for the other assets like BTC, ETH, and other assets that we have supported, we wanted users to actually withdraw those assets from the platform. And literally, so for the first time, we were like actually excited about our crypto AUM actually going down to zero, and every single hour we are calculating, okay, now our crypto AUM is going down, so that we can fundamentally de-risk our platform. And also, it was a very difficult moment for the team. Just the team kind of came together. I remember, I think for like straight 72 hours, I think the team had not slept for like more than 10 or 12, just going through like communicating with customers, working with potential new partners. And that's when we kind of reached out to Zero Hash, and we realized that we had to obviously switch over to a new partner who we can work with for the long term. Obviously considered a bunch of options. We realized how committed and how you guys were in terms of providing that infrastructure, the fact that you were battle tested, and we felt you were the right partner for us to be able to serve our customers. Within like a couple of days after the event, I think we had an agreement, and we signed the dotted line, and we got going. I think within like 3 weeks, and I think hats off to the entire Zero Hash team, when we went through like compliance, KYC, AML, all the policies, everything put together in a matter of like 3 weeks, and eventually restarted our crypto services. One of our biggest fears was that the fact that we had switched off crypto services during that period will users ever come back, and will they use Juno, and will they be able to trust Juno again? And but as soon as we restarted the services, we quickly went back up to our all-time highs in terms of volumes and everything else, which meant that all the decisions that we had taken during those key moments, actually users respected that, and the community talked about that with like with a lot of trust, and also they had a lot of support for the team as well. So that actually helped a lot, and also that helped us build the trust of our community, as well as just the crypto community at large. So that was the journey in January that we went through.
Amazing. And I will definitely take the moment to double click on the Zero Hash partnership. We were proud to have been part of that journey. But before I do that, I do think it's important for the audience, just in terms of general leadership lessons here. Again, you've been in the space for a while. I think those of us that are in the space know that you've got to be prepared for the unexpected. Can you talk a little bit about, how you felt the team was prepared for something like that? You couldn't have predicted it. But are there steps, as just, I'm even taking a step back from crypto or digital assets, just as a leader of a startup and a growing startup, like what are the types of things that you did that prepared the team for an event like that, and that they were able to move so quickly, maybe some lessons learned from it? Love to hear just a bit about that.
Yeah, 100%. I think the primary thing was frankly about clear communication with customers first, second the team, and third with our investors. We've been very lucky to have like some amazing investors from like Polychain Capital and Dragonfly and Sequoia and others. So just being consistent and regular updates to our customers. Okay, this is what has happened. This is what we are trying to do. Regular and important updates with our team, and also with our investors, saying this is what has happened. This is what we could have done to probably we would have avoided this crisis, which we couldn't, and now we are in this, and this is how we'll come out of it. So having this clear communication with all these different stakeholders was extremely critical. The second thing was just clear decision making, and telling the team, okay, this is how exactly we are going to come out of this particular crisis, and still we are going to survive, and we are going to do right by our customers. So I think clear communication and clear decision making was something which is extremely critical, but also at the same time having the right sort of compliance team and the risk team in place, who could guide us in terms of what we should be doing, what we should not be doing, what is sort of the fair notice that we need to give to our customers, so that we do all the right things for our customers. I think those were some of the critical moments. One of the things that I also post the whole crisis was investors actually reached out to me, and they literally almost played therapists for us in terms of just helping us walk through, okay, this is what you did, that's completely fine, and we understand that, we appreciate all the work that you have done. So just the fact that we had that support system around us, frankly, because we communicated really well throughout the whole crisis, that actually helped a lot. And I think that was one of the big leadership lessons for us, throughout the whole crisis, that have people around you who are ready to face this crisis with you and go to this war and battle with you. So that was important.
I love that. It's like a mini MBA lesson here. I mean, you have the important on the investors you select, but I just would underscore, you can't see a company pivot like that, respond to adversity without a lot of preparedness. And I think the two takeaways that you call out is clear decision making, clear communication, even amidst problems happening. If you have those things, you can come up for the better from it. So really awesome to hear. I'm going to pause for a second, as I'd love to dive into the partnership, the integration. We do have a video to explain a little bit more about Zero Hash and how the API endpoints that we offer provide and deliver the front-end experience. Varun, before we get even into the partnership, you talk a lot about, and I think you used this, what was a challenge and turned into an opportunity, and the term you've used is crypto 2.0. Explain what you mean by crypto 2.0.
Yeah, so when we talk about crypto 2.0, I think the fundamental lesson from also, what we went through in January was how do we de-risk the platform fundamentally, which is, what's been the problem with sort of crypto in general, wherein we've had like FTX and Celsius and BlockFi's of the world. So I think as we kind of scale up and move into sort of the next leg of the journey in crypto, we need platforms which are fundamentally de-risk and secure, so that we don't have another moment like this. When we think about crypto 2.0, we've primarily think about de-risking the platform fundamentally, which is the fact that we have cash which is segregated separately in individual checking accounts of customers which are insured, and crypto which is sitting with a different party altogether, in the case which is Zero Hash, which is providing custody and liquidity, things like that. And we essentially initiate orders which kind of string together all these interfaces, which means Juno doesn't custody cash or crypto ourselves, which reduces the fundamental risk that the user has when they basically use a platform like ours. So that's how we kind of think about it. And now we have to take this a step further and make it even more modular, which is the way a user can create a Juno account and we end up giving them a checking account. Can we have multiple banks who can be powered underneath, so that users can choose, okay, I actually want a bank account with this particular bank, and they can kind of underwrite the bank themselves, because we've had the SVB and Silvergate and signature situation. So it's important that the user gets to underwrite and user gets to choose. Similarly, we think that needs to be done for other use cases as well. That they should be able to, probably, if they want to do remittances, they should be able to choose their own provider, whether it's like TransferWise or something else. Similarly, on the crypto side, potentially they would also have multiple options that they can choose from, and we are essentially an interface which strings together everything in the background, so that users don't have to be worried about it, but they still have the opportunity and the option to choose. We think that's a much better approach, even from a regulatory standpoint, because we are disclosing everything to customers, and users are choosing and kind of building their own bank as such, rather than just re-giving them what we think is right for them. So that's how we kind of think about crypto 2.0 in general, as a fundamental way to kind of de-risk and disclose and let users choose whatever they want to have on the platform, essentially.
Great. Makes a lot of sense. I think you touched on user experience, you touched on the compliance, you touched on having reliable infrastructure. Can you talk us through the journey of, you were in that pivotal moment, you mentioned picking Zero Hash for some of those features. What goes into a decision like this? Now, Crypto 2.0, you place an additional emphasis on that infrastructure partner. What was that decision-making process like for you guys? And why did you ultimately choose Zero Hash?
Yeah, 100%. So one of the key things, when it comes to choosing a crypto partner, is the fact that this is our customer, and we serve our customers through the banking interface, and we have to choose the right partner on behalf of our customers. Is frankly how we think about it to begin with. The number one priority here is custody and security of the assets. If the user is choosing to trust Juno and keep their cash and crypto assets on the platform, we need the right sort of partners who have the history of actually custodying and not losing customer funds and doing right by customers over and over again. And this is something which, it's a thankless job, but you just have to keep doing it, and it can be proven only over a period of time. So that's the number one priority. Then security is the number one priority when it comes to customers. Second is the infrastructure, which is does the partner have enough flexibility so that we can create amazing products for our customers? Is it super seamless? Because one of the things that we value a lot at Juno when it comes to our customers is the convenience that we offer. Can we instantly go from cash to crypto, and let us do the hard part in the background in terms of settlements and anything else? And whenever your user wants to withdraw whatever amount that they want to withdraw, can we enable that? How does the whitelisting process work? So that infrastructure is extremely important. The third thing is basically compliance, in terms of, because crypto in general is a high risk industry. We have to be very cognizant of the fact that are these withdrawals for the right reasons? So what is the KYC AML? Is there liveness check which is happening properly? Are we have to think about this crypto partner as literally a partner who's helping us being in compliance with our with the regulators in general. So I think those are the three ways in which we kind of think about. Number one, security. Second is infrastructure, and third is compliance. The other things, which is what is the price that we are offering? Are we getting the best price for our customers or not? I think those things also obviously become more and more important as we kind of go down the rabbit hole of actually choosing a partner.
Yeah, no, appreciate you walking through that. I mean, these are critical choices. I believe I was in a similar seat. I'm currently our chief operating officer at Zero Hash. 2 years ago, if you rewind, I was at Stripe. Stripe had decided to start their crypto journey at the time, and I had the privilege of being able to kind of help lead that effort. And we realized soon that we needed this critical infrastructure partner as well. And I'll admit at the time I hadn't even heard of Zero Hash, but we like to say at Zero Hash now we're one of the biggest brands, one of the biggest companies in crypto that you haven't heard of. And for some of the same reasons that we chose for all the different modular components that Zero Hash had offered, liquidity, the regulated settlement Zero Hash has, operates in over 51 US jurisdictions via money transmitter licenses, has 2-bit licenses, increasingly getting licensed globally, which was a huge comfort to a company like Stripe. Additionally, that Zero Hash was able to move quick to kind of in that journey where you guys also expressed the pivot in 3 weeks' time to onboard customers, which was another critical piece for Stripe. So I was impressed with Zero Hash so much that I ended up joining here, but I'm really glad that those battle-tested moments with companies like Stripe. We also took Interactive Brokers live last week, which is an investor, and now Juno is just increasingly telling that story that we like to do a lot of that behind-the-scenes work, building compliant infrastructure so companies like Juno can focus on what you're great at, which is great UX, great utility, etc.
No, definitely, and that's exactly what we got as well.
Yeah, great. So the last part, I'd like to just talk about just some of your thoughts on the industry and kind of where we're headed. I mean, there's been lots of good, positive momentum in the industry. There were some good court wins in terms of regulatory clarity. There's also, if you focus globally in the UK and the EU, through the MiCA regulation, we're getting more clarity across the EU zone. Global crypto growth continues. I believe it's 430 million users now that have interacted with digital assets in some shape or form. And we seem to be going from this phase of speculation only to utility. And again, the Juno experience is one that highlights this. Can you share any of the insights that you see to kind of not predict, but if you will, but highlight what trends you see as crypto moves forward based on the Juno experience?
Yeah, 100%. I think we are definitely moving into the utility phase of crypto. I think we're probably behind the whole speculative phase. I think the next set of new users who are going to come in are probably going to come in because we are fundamentally unlocking something else for them, which is not possible without crypto rails. One of the things we have been excited about in general is real world assets, and this is a trend that we are seeing increasingly, which is basically the first the first real world asset was essentially stablecoin, and it has found insane product market fit around the world, not only in the US, but like in Latin America, in India, and other places as well. There is a huge need for the world to, and especially in emerging markets, to dollarize. And I think stablecoins just are a fundamental way to kind of do that, and much better than the existing sort of banking rails. So similarly, as sort of if you just go down that stack, apart from dollars and dollars on blockchain rails, similarly there are opportunities for other real world assets like treasuries, potentially for bonds and other assets to also eventually tokenize. And that's the trend that we see people are going through at this particular point, that more and more assets will eventually come on chain. It's not only happening sort of through new startups which are coming in and new protocols which are being created, but even the regulated firms, for example, potentially BlackRock or Franklin Templeton, Wisdom Tree, bunch of others are also kind of tokenizing their assets and putting them on chain because it's just a fundamental better way of settlement and fully transparent. And I think that is one thing that we see in an amazing way. The second thing is basically all the interesting applications which are being built on top of L2s. The fact that what can you do essentially when the transactions cost goes down to zero. What are the interesting use cases and utilities that you can unlock? Friendtech was a very interesting example and a primer to what might come. Some interesting social applications. Crypto is fundamentally about money. So what happens if you sort of add like social elements and the money elements together on the same platform? I think those are the two things that we are seeing. One on the real world asset side, which unlocks access, and the other is on sort of what happens if the transaction cost goes to zero, and what are the interesting utilities which can happen if transaction is free. So that's what we are seeing currently.
Great. Yeah. I mean, sharing our perspective at Zero Hash, as we increasingly become global and we're being becoming more regulated globally. I mean, the thesis of Edward, our founder, was that at first, every fintech in the world want to offer digital asset consumption before, but now that's brought into really any internet company or any company. But what's lacking there is, especially as we go upstream to like a bank or larger institutions, some of the ones that you mentioned is federal clarity, right? There's, again, Zero Hash is very licensed, but there isn't in the U.S. yet federal clarity on, how do you treat a stable coin. There's been some direction from the OCC in the previous administration, but nothing that's uniform. And I think once that happens, and we're already seeing that trend, like some of the ones that you called out, there's a huge unlock where a promise of crypto could be use all these stable coins, which I agree is one of the best innovations that's happened in the space, but to settle quicker on a cross-border payment, to send the remittance faster, to reduce the ability or the need to hold floats for multinational companies. There's so much promise here, but until we have that federal clarity, it's hard to achieve that promise. A lot of people who are the naysayers of crypto, I think, would say, oh, it's been around for 10 years, hasn't gotten adopted as internet. But I think they missed that key point when you're moving value, when you're moving money or digital representations of money, that federal clarity is needed. So totally agree with the direction where we're headed. One last thing, Varun, that I'd ask is, just what are some of the feature requests that you hear from Juno users? You mentioned tokenization. I'm curious if that's one or if there's any others. And what is Juno planning next?
Yeah, so a couple of things that we hear a lot actually. One is, so today Juno users are using the platform to put cash in, convert into crypto, take it out. It's basically the fastest and the most seamless on and off ramp experience for them. But potentially, I think what can also happen is instead of users withdrawing these assets to probably a Ledger or a MetaMask and a Web3 wallet to use these amazing applications, I think they actually want to use these applications directly from the comfort of a checking account. So imagine going to a Uniswap or a Compound or an Aave or an OpenSea, and a QR code pops up through like a Wallet Connect, and then you open the Juno app, and your bank account is now interacting with these DeFi protocols. I think that is something that we want to make happen, and this is something which is a highly requested feature by our customers. That's number one. The second thing is a lot of similar. We've been serving consumers for the longest time. There's a huge appetite for sort of professionals, freelancers, crypto businesses to also use Juno. So the ability for us to be able to onboard trusts, LLCs, C Corps, S Corps, to be able to offer a similar experience. I think that is a highly requested feature as well. The other thing is, and we keep hearing this a lot on Twitter as well, wherein when Juno in Brazil, when Juno in Singapore, when Juno in Europe. So I think international expansion is definitely on our mind, primarily in Latin America, because we think stable coins have hit like a very interesting product market fit primarily in that region, given the fact that that region has just been excited about dollarization, and a lot of the economy runs on the dollar. Also, the proximity to the US helps a lot, and also from a regulatory standpoint, it's actually has much more clear regulations even compared to the US. So Brazil, for example, is one of the most clear regulations for any country when it comes to crypto at this particular point. So these three things that we are excited about, getting more and more deeper into Web3, broadening the scope and serving crypto businesses potentially, and crypto freelancers potentially, and international expansion primarily to Latin America. Those are the three things we're excited about.
Right. Yeah, totally agree on the LATAM stablecoin use case, and I think what you're seeing now with federal legislators in the U.S. is people actually realize the power of that, the power of a stablecoin to actually evangelize about the dollar and get the dollar more adopted in global markets. So hopefully that's the trend that continues. Varun, thank you so much for this time. I mean, it was great to unpack all the successes Juno's had. For those, again, who are not familiar with Juno.finance, you can go and check out their app. Again, all the features that you would get from your normal Web 2.0 experiences, but in a crypto native way. Zero Hash, again, regulated crypto infrastructure, allowing companies like Juno to provide digital assets in a very compliant way. Visit zerohash.com for anyone who's looking for more information. Thank you to everyone for joining. It was great to talk to you again, Brun.
Thanks, Cyril. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.